Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy, weekly video game news podcast with your hosts Lex
and Chris.
Broadcasting live Fridays 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/DCTF podcast. We're going to be talking about all sorts of gaming news of the week. And what is it? Who knows? I do. I'm about to tell you. Hold on. Just calm down. Wait for it. Be patient. Okay, so we're going to be talking about a bunch of news that happened on Friday of last week that we couldn't get to because it was happening while we were recording the show. I am speaking, of course, of all of the Blizzcon announcements.
Blizzard.
After that, we're going to be talking a little bit about some news from Niantic, new game they're working on, some unfortunate news out of Telltale games, some news about Ubisoft stuff, followed by 2K and the upcoming Red Dead Redemption game. Finally, we're going to be talking a little bit about EA's latest acquisition, and then we're going to close out the show by talking about video games that have just come out and video games that are about to come out. I forgot to mention that it is Friday, November 10th, so get amped.
For Turkey.
Yeah!
This fucking year's flying by, man.
Oh, it totally is.
Can't believe it's November 10th already. And it's Ubisoft, by the way, Lex, just so you know.
Nope.
Never.
We had this conversation before, and I refused to believe you then. I continue to refuse.
Okay.
So, you know.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Company.
It's fake. French. The French don't... Listen, the French don't know how to pronounce things, okay?
I know, the guy that owns is named Yves Guillemot.
That doesn't make any sense. That whole name makes no sense.
It's like Reggie Fils-Aimé.
Yeah, like, what even is that? I mean, I know his body is ready, but other than that, I don't understand.
Oh my goodness.
So I want to talk about, of all the BlizzCon news, let's start with the thing that I care the least about. World of Warcraft, the most successful MMO ever, I guess. Yeah. I actually don't even think that's a controversial statement. I think that's just...
No, I don't. I think it's pretty far and away probably the most successful.
That is... I don't know if our stream is still working. Yeah.
It is for me.
Okay, it's probably just my end then.
Okay.
But yeah, so we got an announcement for a new expansion for that, which is Battle for Azeroth, because they've certainly never fought for Azeroth before.
Nope.
And this is supposed to, I guess, take us back more to the roots of Alliance versus Horde, Orcs versus Humans, all that good stuff. And yeah, I mean, that's fine. There's a cinematic, and it's a Blizzard cinematic, so it's beautiful.
Yep.
And there's a lot of fighting and good action, and I see characters that I recognize but don't necessarily care about because I don't care that much about all that deep lore, that deep Warcraft lore. And they fight. I don't know. There's gonna be stuff in it. Who cares?
Some people really care.
I guess some people really care. I just don't. I just can't do it. I can't.
Yeah.
There was a point when I thought WoW was really interesting, although I never played it a whole lot. But there was a point where I was very interested in the expansions, and I think after they went to space, I just completely clocked out.
You were not prepared?
Yeah. But but yeah, so that's coming out. People are excited for it. I'm sure it's going to be a very well fleshed out expansion, as most of them are. And I mean, if nothing else, we get good cutscenes. But
I'm actually surprised it's only the 7th. I feel like there's been, or 6th rather. Oh no, wait, is it the 7th? This new one they said?
Who knows?
I think it's you said it at the top there. Yeah, I swear there were more than that.
Oh, it is the 7th. Yeah.
Yeah. Surprising to me.
But there was some other news from World of Warcraft that I actually found way more interesting.
Yes, and this is actually something that may get me actually to play the game again.
Mm-hmm. So, it turns out they're going to make a World of Warcraft vanilla server.
Yeah.
Now, this is obnoxious to me because last year, or maybe, yeah, I think it was last year. I was reporting on how there were a lot of fan-made World of Warcraft vanilla servers that were in operation, and Blizzard went out into the internet and shut them down with extreme prejudice. Just got rid of all of them, claiming like, oh, copyright, all that stuff, which is totally legally fair. And then one of the bigger ones, Nostalrius, I think it was called, had ended up working out a deal with Blizzard where their server was going to go away, but then people from their team were going to come to Blizzard and be in talks about doing a vanilla server for Blizzard, an official one, since they had this like fairly successful fan run one. And several months later, maybe even 6 months later, there was more news on that those people had basically just walked out with their hands up in the air saying Blizzard doesn't want to work with us. They're not interested. They're making every step of the way, they're making this horrible and difficult, and they obviously don't actually care about making a vanilla server. And this whole time that we were reporting on it, I just kept saying, this doesn't make sense. Because a vanilla server couldn't possibly be as hard to maintain as a regular new server, because you're literally running shittier tech on it, and less content, and because there's obviously a fan appetite, because we had the numbers of how many people were on Nostalrius, and I don't remember what they are currently off the top of my head, but I think it was maybe as high as 10,000. I feel like it didn't even get that high, but it was still like a decent chunk of people who were very interested in doing this. And those were the people who sought out the fan server, right? So you'd assume that if Blizzard was marketing this to their main base, there would probably be more people on board for it. And these are probably people that weren't going to be playing World of Warcraft in its current form because, like you alluded to when we started the story, a lot of those people just aren't very interested in the new stuff, but they could get back into the old stuff. And on top of all of that, they charge, like Blizzard charges for WoW. So if they start a vanilla server, they could make money off it from people who otherwise weren't playing the game. And so I was just so confused by that. And I was like, oh, I mean, I guess they don't want to do that. And then at this BlizzCon, they announced they were doing it. So now I'm like, oh, I get it. They just didn't want to work with the Nostalrius people.
Right.
So they made those people leave the room, and then as soon as they were out of the room, they're like, okay, guys, how are we going to do this ourselves?
Yeah, that's pretty savvy, I guess. I don't know. I would probably do the same thing if I were in their shoes. Because it's like, it's their biggest IP. So, like, I would probably, rightfully crush everything in my path so that I could make the most money in the world. But this actually, regardless of them mistreating fans and shit like that, or fan developers, this is something that I'll probably play for a couple months, and I feel like there's a lot of people like that will play this for a couple months, and give them a whole shitload of money for those couple months, because I want to pretend like I'm 16 again, I guess. Like it's 2004 again.
I just want that nostalgia.
Yeah, I mean, and that's honestly, I think that's what this will do. I think they'll, for maybe a couple months, trickling off to a year, they'll probably get a ton of people in there just to kind of remember their childhood and when nothing was bad, and then it'll trickle off and they'll store up that cash into their giant money vault. And keep on working on, I don't know, other games with reoccurring consumer spending or whatever the fuck.
Yes. No, we're going to talk about that later in the show. And it's funny because when I was putting together all the stories, I was like, it's a really good example of reoccurring consumer spending? The World of Warcraft model.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Although it's the only one that really ever made it work.
Yes.
Because basically, it's such a strange time to think back, because when I heard about this the classic or vanilla server, whatever it's being called, and I was like, wow, yeah, 2004. I look back, 2004 was a bomb-ass year for video games. Mm-hmm. World of Warcraft, Half-Life 2, Doom 3, Unreal Tournament, San Andreas, Halo 2, Katamari Damacy, Counter-Strike Source. Yeah, it was fucking outrageous. I think you just accidentally started hosting Brandon again.
See, that's what I was seeing on my stream, but when I reloaded it, I saw the correct thing. And according
strange.
to OBS, we've never stopped streaming, so I'm just assuming we still are, and it's our.
Yeah, all right.
I assume it's our
reloaded.
browser's problem.
Very bizarre. But yeah, the Warcraft model, it's you can really only have one of those in the market because no one wants to pay $13 twice a month, for two different games, or not many people do. And yeah, I'm excited to play it a little bit. Did you? So you said you played it somewhat, but not like a ton.
I played it at friends' houses. When it first came out, everyone had it, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to pay for it. You got it. You want to let me play it?" And they'd be like, "Sure, come over." And then I'd play it. And it was a good time, and I enjoyed it. But it was one of those. But I think in recent years, I tried to do like a free trial of it, right, where you can't go beyond like level 15 or 20 or something. And I couldn't get to level 5 without like falling asleep in front of my computer. I found it so monotonous. And it's one of those things that, I think that back in the day, I was cool with the kind of grinding that was in that game, but for my current standards, like I'm like, nah, I got to be playing something more exciting than this. Like I need to feel like I'm accomplishing more when I play a game.
I need to get card packs is what I need.
Exactly.
And loot boxes. No, it was definitely like MMOs. At least back in the day, like you needed to play it with a group of friends really to get the most out of it. Like, you'd get home from school, and you'd have, 4 or 5 friends all in the same game, whatever game it was. And, I mean, that was before Skype, that was still, like, AOL Instant Messenger days.
Nice.
Rest in peace, AOL I am. So, that's, like, the way you'd hang out, is you'd go and you do quests and grind out fucking levels and shit. And I did that with World of Warcraft. I did that with Final Fantasy XI, even before World of Warcraft. So yeah, to do it alone is a nightmare, and so you definitely need some friends there to kind of mitigate that. And I still have some friends that still play it. They do their weekly raids, and it's for them. I really do think it is not. It has very little to do with gameplay at this point. It's much more of just like it's like the same reason like some people play D&D. It's like it's my gaming night. It's the night I get to hang out with my friends. We get together and we run a session, and it's like, I like the game. The game's fine, but really I'm there because I want to hang out with my friends, And I think that for a lot of people, that's kind of the same. It's the same feeling.
Well, moving on to their next announcement, that was kind of a big deal, sort of interesting. StarCraft 2.
Yeah.
It's going free to play.
I missed that one until I read this article for the show, and that I find is strange.
Yeah, no, I think it's super weird. It's the kind of thing that a company does when their sales are flagging real hard. Mm-hmm. But we know that like Blizzard isn't having that problem, so I'm just not really sure exactly why they're doing this.
Especially because they've never done it they did it with World of Warcraft, but they've never done it with any of their other games.
Yeah, the thing about this though that I actually like about it is the way StarCraft 2 was released initially. I just hated. I hated so much.
What part of it?
Because the way it was, the way they divided it up to try and get more money out of you.
With the Wings of Liberty and
So StarCraft 1, fantastic game, still a fantastic game, still played maybe more than StarCraft 2 is. Although StarCraft 2 is not unsuccessful. Not to say that.
Not at all.
But
it's the one place it's probably played more than any place else is Korea.
Yeah,
South Korea. But
not North Korea. But
who knows? We may never know.
We may never know. But yeah, so the whole idea with StarCraft 1, the way the plot works is, there are 3 playable races, and the campaign story is divided between the 3 of them. Yes. And when StarCraft 2 came out, that's what I was expecting, and I bought it for full retail $60 price, and then I popped it in, and it was like, hey, here's the human campaign, and then I beat that, and then it said, cool, the game's over.
You gotta wait another 2 years or whatever it was till the next one.
You gotta wait 2 years and then pay full retail for the next third of this game, and then wait and pay full retail again for the last third of this game.
Were they all full retail?
I think initially they were.
Yeah.
And then the price lowered later. So that happened, and I was unhappy about it. And that was actually, I never bought the other two parts of the game because I felt so burned by that. So I was just like, But now they're like, hey, it's free to play, which means you can play the first third of the campaign for free, or if you have this first third of the campaign, if you bought that, you get to play the second third of the campaign for free, but then you still have to buy the third of the campaign.
So that's odd. So if you own Wings of Liberty, you get Heart of the Swarm.
Yep.
For free? Okay, but not Legacy of the Void.
Correct. So it says, on November 14th, players will be able to play the entire Wings of Liberty campaign at no cost. If you already own that content, you will receive Heart of the Swarm at no additional cost. So right now, I'm actually going to be able to play more of the campaign for the first time, because I never bought any of the other parts of it.
What if you own Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm? Do you get Legacy of the Void for free?
It doesn't say that in this article, but that stands to reason that that's what would happen.
Right. Huh. That's fucking strange.
There's also the Nova Covert Ops, which is additional DLC that came out for the game that I didn't even know about. But
I forgot about that.
If Nova still gets, if StarCraft Ghost still gets to exist, I'm happy with
Jesus
it.
Christ.
So yeah, then it also points out that now the later expansions of everything cost way less. So at this point, if I wanted to buy Legacy of the Void and Nova Covert Ops and just have everything, it's $15 for each of those additional things, which is a super reasonable price for that extra content, and I probably will buy it.
Those are, like you said, it sucks that they did that in the first place, but those are meaty expansions, like in terms of the story and what they did to multiplayer. At least with I stopped playing after Heart of the Swarm, but with Heart of the Swarm they radically changed a lot of multiplayer stuff for the better, I think. I also so you're one of those weirdos that just played the the campaigns of StarCraft, right?
Well, I never had any interest in playing it in playing the multiplayer, because I played StarCraft 1's multiplayer a little bit. Or I should say, I bought StarCraft 1 and I played the whole campaign all the way through, and then I played a bunch of custom maps and I loved the shit out of them. And then
you got some bunker wars and use map setting stuff,
yeah, and I learned how to do a bunch of fun use map setting stuff. The way triggers work in the StarCraft campaign editor is like the only way triggers work that I've been able to like understand and master. As soon as I tried to use them in Warcraft 3's campaign editor, I was like, I don't understand these anymore. They're too confusing. But
that's fun.
But I did a lot of that, but I don't know, it never even occurred to me to try to play online in any competitive capacity. But also I had a really shitty dial-up internet when I was a youngin', so I didn't really get, like, I don't think I could have, even if I wanted to. And then when I was I don't even think it was in high school, I think when I got to college and someone mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, I guess I never tried to play that multiplayer. And then I tried to do that, and I lost within seconds any game I tried to play. And I'm like, oh, this isn't fun. And then I never picked it back up again. And when StarCraft 2 came out, I was like, I really want to play this campaign because it looks good. And it was really good. And after I finished it, I'm like, yep, I have no desire to play the multiplayer because I know I'm not going to be good at it, and I don't have the desire to try to learn it.
Right. Yeah. So you're the person that Blizzard always talks about, but I never believed actually existed. Where they're like, yeah, people really do play the campaigns, and I was always like, no, they don't. What the fuck are you talking about? Because I'm the exact opposite. I was, I played the campaign for Wings of Liberty maybe like a month or two after I bought the game. Because it's straight to Battle.net. Because that's the game to me. Is trying to be at least semi-competitive in StarCraft Online. And it's always been that StarCraft 1 Brood War, and then StarCraft 2 was always about that. Like that, I never really thought of the campaign too much beyond the fact that it had good cutscenes.
Such good cutscenes. Oh, excellent cutscenes.
It's called a that's a Zergling, Lester. Smaller type of Zerg. I love you, boss. Got it. That shit's great. But Yeah, the fact that it's going free to play, maybe I wonder what the business thinking is behind this. It maybe that it's just trickling off now, and they're not seeing great payback to it, or something. I don't know, because they also came out with like Brood War Remastered just recently, and it seems like that had a lot of buzz going for a little while. Mm-hmm. I definitely bought it and played it for a little bit. And I'm like, oh god, dragoons, you dumb units, like you impossible to control units. And it was definitely fun to play. Yeah, I'm surprised at this one. Maybe they want to boast that multiplayer scene a little bit more or something.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably the thought behind this is they're thinking, oh, those people that just play it for the campaign, those don't actually exist. The people who play this game play it to play it online, and the best way to foster that community is to make it free to do that, and then we can try to have like microtransactions for other DLC later and make money on them that way.
Yeah, because I mean, definitely in terms of competition, StarCraft 2 is not. I mean, when I'm sure you remember back around 2010, 2011, like that StarCraft 2 was the competitive game, and no one really talks about it anymore, kind of outside of South Korea. Mm-hmm. So they're like, fucking MOBAs have killed us, like we gotta try to scratch back a little bit of that market share.
Oh yeah. So one of the things that we didn't hear at BlizzCon that I was really hoping we would is, as you mentioned, they did a remaster of the first StarCraft.
Yes.
And we were really hoping to see a remaster of one of their other games, like a Warcraft 2 or Diablo 2. And they didn't announce that, and I was heartbroken because I really want an HD remaster of Diablo 2, like so bad.
That would be fucking rad. That'd be super rad. Yeah. That'd be really good. I actually thought it was funny because there was I think it was a story that we read. It was like the layout of BlizzCon this year, and it was like, oh, this is like the big ass stage where all the big announcements are going to be, and then it's like, and then the tiny sad Diablo stage, and they're like tucked away like next to like the food purveyors and shit. Yeah. And it's just like, that's so sad. That's so sorry Diablo.
Aww. So, moving on to some of their last two announcements, they announced Kobolds and Catacombs, the next Hearthstone expansion, and the cutscene's fantastic because it features Matt Mercer singing in it.
Yes, the DM of Critical Role singing about kobolds and catacombs.
Yeah, adventuring through caves. It's, I don't know, I think it'll be fun. We don't know much about it. There was a hero that they released for free that you can get that has something to do with the new set. I honestly just logged into Hearthstone so that I could get the hero, and then logged out of Hearthstone because I'm way too busy playing Switch games to play Hearthstone right now.
Yeah. I wonder if they're in talks to get Hearthstone on Switch. That's like a perfect fit right there.
Yeah, because it's already got the touchscreen, so you don't even need to worry about in making the controls work for it. You can just be I'll just ignore that. It's just a touchscreen game. It's the same as it is on phone and tablet.
Hearthstone's actually not on. They're not on the other consoles, are they?
I thought they were. I mean, I know they're on tablets and smartphones and PC.
Yeah.
And I assumed they were on the PS4 and the Xbone, but I didn't actually check because I don't have either of those consoles.
Yeah, they're not. Just Windows, Mac OS, iOS, and Android. Interesting.
So,
well, they should get that shit on Switch because that's right at home, I think.
Oh yeah, I think they would definitely I think there's definitely money to be made there.
Yeah.
And it just is another reason to never put down your Switch, ever. Never.
Pretty much.
Just make sure you charge it.
Yeah, Hearthstone, I'm so far behind that I can't jump back in now. Not without like spending a weekend trying to learn all the meta again and shit like that. It's been I missed too many expansions, and I don't even understand how the cards work anymore.
Well, one of the good things about that is if you wait long enough, the expansions that you missed will cycle out of the standard format, and then then you'll only need to worry about the like couple newest ones. So you'll still be going in blind, but you won't have to worry about as many cards.
Right. And I don't have to worry about, like Tavern Patron anymore. Everyone get in here. Remember those days?
Grim Patron, man.
Grim Patron Warrior.
What a card.
I don't, what's the, there was the druid that everyone used. The trees that would give you a bunch of trees and shit as the nightmare. Anyways, another just to show you how dumb I am. It took me until like earlier today to realize that Kobolds and Catacombs was a reference to Dungeons and Dragons.
How did you not get that?
I don't know. I was just like Kobolds and Catacombs. That's funny. I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm like Matt Mercer, Kobolds and Catacombs, and it's like like the math was flying in front of my face, and then I was like, holy shit!
You became the meme.
It clicked.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, that expansion's coming out. It's probably going to be cool because most of the expansions have been pretty good, so I expect it will be good.
Yeah.
Finally, we have Overwatch announced a new hero, and it is an evil wizard lady.
Ooh, who cares?
Yeah, no, I mean she's a bad guy who can not take very many hits and move fast, and with one hand she can deal damage, and the other hand she can heal. I mean, yeah, if you really want to play like a caster type character in that game, then you got an evil wizard character you can play. It's in there. It's for you. Which actually is kind of what I want to play in that game. So I'm like, oh, maybe I will go to Dan's house and be like, hey, Dan, you have Overwatch, right? It's time for me
Is this your life? You just go to your friend's house and tell them to let you play the games they have?
Listen, this was all of middle school for me because I didn't have. I had an N64, but I didn't have anything else, and I had like a Windows 95 computer with dial-up internet.
Nice.
So yeah, I would go over people's houses and be like, "Let me play your stuff." And then once we got into the once we got until past like 2002, I got a PS2, I got an Xbox. Then I could stay home and be antisocial. But before that, right. It was very much about going to people's houses and playing their games.
Right on.
Yeah, I think I actually think this hero looks interesting only because it fulfills a role that you don't see filled as much in Overwatch. Like if they introduced another character who like has a big gun and can shoot things, I would be less interested. But yeah, overall, we don't know how well it's going to balance or work, but we're going to find out. I'm sure the community will certainly tell us if it doesn't balance well.
Oh no, game dead, old game dead, Moira dead, bad, unbalanced OP.
Mm-hmm.
Please nerf, kill Mike Metzen.
Yes.
I don't know. I've not played Overwatch in a while, so I have no comment.
No comment on the story.
It seems like they're coming out with characters at a pretty rapid pace nowadays. I don't know if this has always been the schedule. Like if this has been the pace that it's always been, and I've just kind of been oblivious to it. But it's like, didn't we just get Deathstroke or whatever his name is?
Doomhammer.
Doomfist.
Doomhammer's a Warcraft thing, I think.
Okay.
I don't know. They're all Blizzard they all sound the same.
Yeah, they do.
Everybody just gets corrupted and then they're evil. That's how all the plot lines work.
That's true. That is all of Blizzard's plot lines, isn't it?
I have two friends who are they actually are a couple that met playing WoW, and now are like going to get married, and they've been together forever. And they love World of Warcraft, but they don't play it very much anymore because they've moved on as people, and they still love the lore of it a lot. But whenever they start talking to me about the lore, and whenever they mention a character, I'm like, oh, did that guy get corrupted? Is that what happened to that character? And it's funny because that's my default thing to say, but like half the time they're like, well, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean that happens in StarCraft, that happens in pretty much all of it, yeah.
Yep.
It's almost like Blizzard aren't great story writers.
Weird, huh? Yeah.
Huh. Anyways.
Anyway, let's move on from BlizzCon to the people who make Pokemon Go.
Yes, Niantic. Niantic's follow-up to Pokemon Go will be a Harry Potter AR game launching in 2018.
Wow.
Woo! Niantic's lab, this is from TechCrunch, Niantic Labs has had tremendous success with Pokemon Go, which paired their expertise in building location-based augmented reality mobile experiences, top-flight IP, with a ravenous fan base. So it stands to reason that we should expect a similar fan response to Harry Potter, get ready, Wizards Unite. Yes, an AR title set to launch in 2018, co-developed by Warner Brothers Interactive and its new sub-brand Portkey Games, which I think that's a Harry Potter thing. Niantic building a Harry Potter game similar to Pokemon Go was rumored last year when the company noted that it had acquired the rights to the app, but the rumor was subsequently debunked, oddly enough, with the original article containing the information pulled from the web. This is interesting. This is an interesting choice, I guess. It's going to do really well, I think. But the thing that does Harry Potter still have the pull that it used to? Does it still got the hype that it used to? Are still people talking about the Harry Potter?
Sort of is my take on that, because it definitely doesn't have the hype that it used to.
No.
But all those Harry Potter fans are no less interested in Harry Potter now than they were before.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a few that are, and I am among those few, where I'm like, I was interested in Harry Potter when I was in middle school, but not anymore really at all.
Yeah.
My interest in Harry Potter didn't even make it through the last two movies. Like, I didn't see the last. I saw the first half of the second to last movie, and I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But a lot of people I know who were into Harry Potter are just as into Harry Potter now as they used to be. That fan base is very, very rabid. So if you put a game in front of them, it might not have the sheer player numbers that a game like Pokemon Go did, but I think you'd probably see a higher concentration of whales in a game like that.
True. Because, I mean, like, all of us Harry Potter fans that grew up with it as kids are all, like, fucking 30 now. So, like...
We got money to spend.
Got money to spend unless we made some Rugrats, and then sorry for you.
No, our generation isn't having kids, so it's fine. No one has
that's
to
true.
worry
Yeah,
about
we're a loveless, hopeless pile of garbage generation. At least according to a lot of article writers. But this is strange. I wonder what kind of gameplay this is going to have. Like, because the Pokemon Go thing is like, that's perfect. Like it's like that's a no-brainer with the Pokemon Go thing. But with a Harry Potter game, what kind of gameplay do you think we're going to be having in this AR game?
I mean, there some trailer for it that showed some stuff. It was weird.
I don't think so. Oh, there's an official announcement. There's been an update. Ha ha ha.
Oh.
The magic of Harry Potter, Wizards Unite. Oh my god. No, there's no gameplay video.
Okay. I assume that you can wave your phone around and say
that's what I was thinking.
Magic words and it makes spells happen. But
I can't wait till this game gets super popular. People are waving their phones around saying fucking Expelliarmus or whatever. and people, like, there's going to be a deluge of people accidentally throwing their phones, like, and having them smash against the sidewalk and stuff like that.
Oh, that's going to be delightful.
And then Niantic or someone, actually, we should get on this before this even happens. We should make this bet and make, like, iPhone wrist holders like they have for Wii U.
Yep.
So that you can connect them to that, so that you don't lose your fucking phone.
Mm-hmm.
Lex, why are we even doing this podcast? We need to patent this right now.
Yeah, right now.
This is it.
Let's get out of here. Let's go start an online business.
A startup, real quick startup here.
Real quick startup.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing that you're gonna join a house with your Hufflepuffs and your Ravenclaws and all that.
Just like Pokemon Go has its different teams.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh.
That there's gonna be more, and it's gonna be worse.
This is gonna be terrible. This is gonna be so bad.
I wonder if they're gonna do like the Sorting Hat thing, where it's like I'm the Sorting Hat, and I'm going to look through all of your social media posts to find out how much of a shithead you are to figure out what house to put you in.
Take this BuzzFeed style quiz to figure it out.
Yeah. What's your ideal weekend? Is it in the mountains, out with your friends, or Netflix and chill? Da 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 da. Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea. But beyond that, what kind of gameplay this could have besides just people flicking their phones at each other.
Well, if it ends up being about wizard battling, which I assume. That's
really the only place to go, right?
Yeah, it's gonna have to. It's gonna end up feeling so forced because because like you were saying, Pokemon is perfect for it because Pokemon is basically just about battling, and that's
catching. You can catching them all
and finding Pokemon and catching them at different locations. But Harry Potter doesn't lend itself thematically to a game in that way, because like a Niantic game that uses like geo tracking doesn't lend itself to like going to school and learning magic, which is really the cornerstone of what Harry Potter is.
Yes, yeah, that's really what it is about.
So I don't know. So that's why I feel like it's going to be super forced and just really, really cringeworthy when this game comes out.
It could be. Do you think we'll ever see something like Pokemon Go again? In like when it was in its prime, like that was insane to me. Like I've never seen
I think we could see that perfect storm again with something. I'm sure we could. It won't be for a while, but yeah.
Yeah.
And
I've never seen anything like that. Like that was fucking crazy. It was cool. It's cool that it happened. Like, because it was just like during that whole Pokemon Go thing, I had a guy come and service my air conditioner, and he like straight up like he saw me, he saw I was a little bit younger. He's like, "You playing Pokemon Go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've been trying it out." He's like, "Yeah, I got a bunch of friends that were meeting over like this place." I'm like, "My fucking air conditioner repairman is into Pokemon Go. Like, this is crazy. He's inviting me to a mall where a bunch of people are gonna catch like rare Pokemon and shit." I'm like, Sweet. It was insane. Like nothing. I've never seen anything like that in gaming.
Yeah, no, I think that it'll be interesting. I think it will happen again with something at some point. We might have to wait like a decade, but I think it will. And when it does, hopefully, because enough time will have passed, technology will be good enough that it'll actually work properly.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully, but probably not. And everything will be ruined forever. I actually had an experience with Pokemon Go just the other day. I was playing a D&D game, and two of the players were like, wait, can we take a break? And we were like, what? Why? And they said, we just got an alert for Pokemon Go that like an ultra rare legendary is like a block from here, so we gotta go catch it. And I was just like, oh, you guys are like in your 40s. Why are you doing this? So I think those are the only people who are still like ardent about playing it, are people who were like got really into it. Got really into Pokemon for the first time with Pokemon Go, so they still have that love of it. But I think everyone who's like our age and younger were like, oh, this is cool, but it's not like as good as Pokemon should be, so we sort of tossed it to the side eventually.
Yeah. I still have some friends that owe me a pizza, because I said I bet that they wouldn't be playing it within a year, and then they weren't. Never gave me that pizza.
Dude, gotta collect on that pizza.
I know, pizza debts, man. I'm owed a few.
Dude, that's important, because pizza's
they call me the pizza man. I've come to collect on my pizza debts.
Oh man, we should make a game that has virtual currency, but it's all pizza-based virtual currency.
Yes, everything's a pizza bet.
Yep. Excellent. All right, we're coming up with so many good... Yeah. We gotta go. We gotta pack our bags and move to Silicon Valley.
Valley.
Yeah, and then become millionaires. And then have our companies publicly traded, and then be at each other's throats, and then have a falling out, and then go to other countries to avoid taxes.
And then probably get accused of sexual abuse at some point.
At some point later on, yes. That's what
At some point later on, yeah.
Anyway, moving to something completely different. Telltale Games.
Telltale Games has laid off 25% of their workforce, and this is from Polygon. This is, I'd say this is definitely unfortunate, because I mean, people losing their jobs always sucks in a shaky climate of economics. But I kind of saw this coming.
Oh yeah, I totally saw this coming.
Yeah, Telltale Games, the studio behind episodic series based on The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, and Minecraft, is laying off 25% of its workforce. The company announced a restructuring, which will affect 90 employees in a news release. In a statement, Telltale said that the decision to lay off its staff is designed to make the company more competitive, quote, more competitive as a developer and publisher of groundbreaking story-driven gaming experience with the emphasis on high quality in the years ahead, unquote. Quote, our industry has shifted in tremendous ways over the past few years, Telltale Games CEO Pete Hawley said in a statement. Quote, the realizations of the environment we face moving forward demand we evolve as well, as well, reorienting our organization with a focus on delivering fewer, better games with a smaller team. The restructuring is, quote, not expected to impact the release of any of the game's previously announced titles, Telltale said. Telltale also said that it plans to move its internal development over to more proven technologies that will fast-track innovation in the core products. The developer didn't specify which technologies it will be pursuing, but Telltale has received criticism for the technical performance of its products in the past. Who could have guessed it? One thing that this story does not mention is that Pete Hawley is the new CEO, actually put in that position back in September of this year. I think it's pretty easy to say that he came in, and this is what CEOs do, came in, looked around, and said, whoa, this fucking once small company is bloated to all hell, and said, we're going to cut the fat, a lot of it. And unfortunately, that affected 90 of its employees, around 90 of its employees. Unsurprising, because at least the way I saw it, this little company that could, found huge success with The Walking Dead, and then just didn't stop running for a long time.
Well, my problem with Telltale has always been that their games have felt very gimmicky. Like, they're not bad. They're certainly well written and all that, but it feels like they came up with one kind of game and then said, ooh, this game sold really well. Let's see how we can reskin it to make 5 other games that are all mechanically exactly the same.
Pretty much.
And I just watched that happening, and I was like, there's no way that this lasts forever. This is a fad. And eventually people are going to get tired of playing the same kind of game over again, and Telltale is going to have to scale back. And there's nothing wrong necessarily with them slowing down and still making this kind of game, but just not having it come out with the kind of frequency that it did. It just is sad that it took them this long to come to that realization, and now people's jobs had to have been lost because of it.
I am a fan of Telltale's games, and I will admit that they start to feel very samey. One, because their engine, they use the same engine on everything, and it's if any of this, all of this business of people getting laid off was to enact the development of a new engine, then all the fucking better for them, because they need it. I think that it is true that a lot of their games are very samey. A lot of them they were based off The Walking Dead, which is like all about shock, and it's like, ooh, character dies that you don't think's gonna die and stuff, and that plays really well with video games where you get to make quote unquote choices. And so they did that over kind of a couple times over. I really liked the Wolf Among Us series that they did. I've heard the Batman series is really great. I've not played it, but they're on their second one of those. And then I haven't played many of the other ones besides the Walking Dead games. They're all really well written, and like, if they are kind of the samey in regards to the gameplay, I'm fine with that, because like, there's so much bad video game writing in the world that if you can have some of it that's good, then I'm all for it. From what I heard, at their biggest, Telltale was like almost 400 people strong at this studio. That was a lot of people. And something that actually I think is interesting is that they, unlike many other developers, they never downsize after a project. They never shed off, like, because it's an unfortunate reality of video game development that, you know, when you ramp up for game development all the way to the end, you have a ton of people, and at the end they're like, okay, everyone's laid off, because we can't afford to have a bunch of people around for another 4 years right now, you know? Telltale never did that. They just kept on building and come out with games over and over and over again. So it seems like that might have caught up to them a little bit, that they didn't end up getting the returns to fuel a 400-person studio, which is not insignificant. So, yeah. I wish them the best of luck. I wish the people that got laid off the best of luck, of course. I mean, if you worked at Telltale, you have a pretty good pedigree, so I'm sure that they won't have too much trouble finding work. But I do hope that I think Telltale still has some good shit in them. They still have some good ideas possibly, and I hope that they actually, I hope this isn't all just like a money thing, that it's actually a true to word, like, yeah, we want to scale back and actually work on bigger games that are better,
Yeah.
and more focused.
No, I hope so. Totally.
Yeah.
Moving to our next story.
Ubisoft.
You mean Ubisoft?
Oh, right. Sorry.
They have denied that Assassin's Creed Origins DRM is slamming your CPU. So this is a story that was actually from last week. I think it was from like last Thursday or something, but I missed it and it did not get it into the rundown. But I wanted to mention it here. It's just Assassin's Creed Origins came out on PC, and users have noticed that it really clocks their CPU usage up to 100%. And makes their games chug real bad. And a lot of people were saying, oh man, I have like a really powerful gaming PC and I can just barely run this game at, best settings, which I should totally be able to do because that's why I spent a bajillion dollars on my gaming PC. So people looked into this, they tried to figure out what the deal was, and they discovered that it was the DRM. It wasn't just one round of DRM, but actually 2 rounds of DRM that were running, I guess, simultaneously with the game and just bogging down everything.
Yeah.
So people were upset about that, especially because in the past, Ubisoft has issued statements saying that DRM does not actually stop piracy. So their stance on that has been like, oh, I mean, if DRM doesn't actually do anything to stop piracy, then why have it? Who cares? So it's amusing that they then follow statements like that a couple of years later by doubling down on DRM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's also amusing that they talked to a guy who's a cracker, not like the
not the racist term,
not the term for white people, but a game cracker, and he it was basically saying like, yeah, it seems like they're double layering this DRM on there and that's kind of what's causing the problem. And then Ubisoft denies this in an official statement, which says, we're confirming that the anti-tamper solutions implemented in the Windows PC version of an Assassin's Creed have no perceptible effect on game performance. I think it's funny that they didn't just say, there's no problem at all. It's just saying, no, it's the DRM that's not actually causing it. It's like, there's going to be problem. Yes, we know the problems exist. They're just not happening for the reasons you think they do.
And meanwhile, all the people who have actually gone into the game's code and looked at it are saying like, no, it's the DRM.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And yeah, the company's like, don't believe your lying eyes. It's just that our game is so beautiful and high end in terms of its graphics that even the most powerful computers couldn't possibly run it that well.
Yeah, we didn't even want to put it out, really.
CD Projekt Red, move over.
Yeah, please. Oh. No, I love this. In order to recreate a living, systematic, and majestic open world of ancient Egypt where players can witness all the stunning details, its beautiful landscapes, incredible cities, in a completely seamless way with no loading screens, Assassin's Creed Origins uses the full extent of the minimum recommended PC settings here, while ensuing a steady 30 frames per second performance. Man, if you ever... they do not know how to take one on the chin.
Nope. So they're lying, and that's unfortunate that they went with double DRM.
Yeah,
and it's
going to get cracked anyways. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, no, I mean there's stories not about this being cracked in particular, but DRM at this point with major AAA titles, a really high-end good DRM system in place will stop your game from being cracked for maybe a couple days.
Yeah.
And I guess having 2 in place, I don't know, it might last a week.
Yeah, the double bagging it, I guess.
It might just now be being cracked.
Right, yeah.
But
I remember when like Denuvo was a new thing, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's the end of piracy. It's uncrackable." And then it's like, because I think it was Dragon Age Origins. I think was the first game, not Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age Inquisition.
Oh yeah.
The first one that had it, and everyone's like, "It's it. Cracking's done. You can't crack it. It's uncrackable." It took them like a couple weeks.
Yeah, I certainly never played an illegal copy of that game.
No, No, sir.
I certainly didn't accidentally lose my hard drive and then lose that copy of the game before I had a chance to beat it, but I got like 80% of the way through and I'm still miffed about it. None of that ever happened.
No, but that's just a story.
Yes.
That's a tale.
I made that up on the spot. Moving on.
Yes.
Okay, so 2K Games.
2K game.
They are interested in this cool new idea called recurrent consumer spending.
Sure, it's a pretty hot buzzword. I'm going to read some of it. Really, the thing that I think is the takeaway here, none of it's very surprising. But the takeaway here, I think, is that Strauss Zelnick has probably more balls than anyone else, because finally there's a CEO talking about this kind of thing just plainly and being like, yeah, this is just the way it's going to be now. Like, instead of having to he doesn't make up any excuses. He just literally just puts it how it is. Like, and it's like, it sucks because that means like the battle's kind of over for, microtransactions and all this shit. But I digress. Take-Two, the parent publisher of Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption, developer-publisher Rockstar Games, has reiterated its stance on quote-unquote reoccurrent consumer spending. That's the company's term for a bucket that includes virtual currency, add-on content, and microtransaction. In an earnings call this week, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick repeated that he has said time and time again, you can expect a reoccurrent consumer spending element to be included in most, if not all, of the company's games going forward. It may not always be virtual currency, it may not always be microtransactions, it may not always be expansions, but Take-Two is aiming to bake into its game some elements that keep players coming back and spending. Quote, we've said that we aim to have recurrent consumer spending options for every title that we put out at this company, Zelnick said, repeating comments from previous earning calls. Quote, it may not always be online model, it may not always be a virtual currency model, but there will be some ability to engage on this ongoing basis with our titles after release across the board. And they go on to say that this is it's no surprise because the microtransactions or recurrent consumer spending, as they say, accounted for 48% of Take-Two's overall earnings, which means that it's 48% of $443 million for this sales period.
Oof, man.
Fucking crazy. It goes on to say that, this is another interesting thing, is that one of the key drivers for Take-Two's recurrent consumer category was GTA Online, which years after its release just had its strongest quarter ever.
Yeah, that was the craziest part of this article to me when I saw it. I was like, oh my god, it's not even that it's still going strong, but it's going stronger than ever.
I know. I want someone to do like a fucking investigative documentary about GTA Online and how the hell it still works, like how the hell it's still doing so well. It drives me crazy. Some more quotes from Zelnick. He said, one of the things we learned is if we create a robust opportunity and a robust world in which people can play delightfully in a bigger and bigger way, that they will keep coming back and they will engage. And if there is an opportunity to monetize that engagement, he said, and we've announced that there will be an online component to Red Dead Redemption 2. I think there was a bit of a typo. It's kind of some weird way of saying that. And finally, he said, it's been transformative for us, and the only reason it's transformative for us is because it's transformative for our consumers, he said. The business that once upon a time was a big, chunky opportunity to engage for tens of hours or perhaps hundreds of hours has turned into an ongoing engagement day after day, week after week. You fall in love with these titles, and they become part of your daily life.
Just like WoW.
Just like WoW. Nothing too surprising. I mean, of course, they see something that works and they're going to continue with it. But I think this is the first time, like I said, that a CEO has just straight up said it without beating around the bush. Where he's just like, yeah, it's going to be in everything because it works really well. And we make a shit ton of money from it.
It made us $220 million.
Right. So it's almost like a what do you fucking think, motherfucker kind of stance,
It's funny. Earlier in the show, we mentioned how WoW was the premier MMO and no one else was able to copy it. But now, the more I think about microtransactions, I'm like, oh, no, they have. With microtransactions, other companies have finally been able to emulate that kind of money-making success with an online game. It just took them a decade, but they did it. They figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and like we've talked, it's the loot as part of the loot box ellipse, which we've been talking about, which I feel like the larger part of my natural life. Has it's all about finding ways to suck out more and more blood with you not feeling the pain, like and yeah, we've got there. And I think this is the sign that this is the model we're going to have for a while until they find something else that works,
Yeah.
some kind of more devious mode of gambling or something. I don't know what it will be, but I think that yeah, if for someone as big as Zelnick, a company as big as Take-Two, saying like, "Yep, this is going to be in everything that we do," I think that's basically the death knell. That's the white flag for trying to fight against this shit. We've lost, Lex. It's here forever.
Well, here's the thing. I knew that we were always going to lose this because I know that we as consumers are paying for these microtransactions. Like you and I personally aren't. Actually, no. You said you spent a lot of money on packs in Hearthstone when you played it. So shame on you.
Yeah, a good amount.
But no, I'm one of the people who like doesn't usually buy any microtransaction stuff. Very rarely. But I know everybody else does. So I'm like, okay, so that's happening. The best we can do is negotiate the terms upon which that happens. And one of the
I've changed the terms. Pray I don't change them further.
One of the things I'm hoping can happen to come out of this is that when a publisher makes a big online game like a Red Dead Redemption game with a big online component, they can say, okay, the game is going to be meaty and robust and have stuff to it on launch, unlike Star Wars Battlefront 1 did. And it's going to have all these microtransactions later, and people are going to keep coming back and keep playing it. But because we know we're going to make all that money on the back end, we're going to take a more of a mobile game initial price route where the game probably wouldn't be free, but we're not going to see $60 games. We're going to see $30 games or something like that.
Yeah,
like that's what I'm hoping ends up growing out of this. And I think that's the thing where if that happens, consumers will stop complaining about it. And I think everyone will end up being happy.
Yeah, because I honestly, I don't inherently see any problem with microtransactions in games. I really don't. Because it's all about how it's implemented and how it's delivered. If it's completely cosmetic, I don't give a shit. Like, anyone can spend that money all the much that they want. It's your money to spend how you want to, Like, here's the end. At the end of the day, you don't need to play video games. Like,
what? That's not true.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy, but you really actually don't have to. You actually don't have to buy them. And you don't have to continue putting money into them so that you can get a costume. Like those are actually things you don't need to do. And I also realize, I know I'm sometimes kind of the devil's advocate for the publisher, but video games are more expensive to make than ever. And ultimately, like, video games are not it's not an altruistic industry. It's a capitalist industry. They're there to make money. So if they're gonna put them in the fucking game, if they're gonna put microtransactions in games, at least do them in a way that doesn't hurt horribly. Like, then I'm fine with that. I'm really not too concerned.
All right, seems reasonable, the most reasonable. Let's move to our last story. EA, what are they doing now? Something bad, surprising no one. EA is buying
doing something interesting, at least.
Yeah.
This is odd.
EA is buying Titanfall developer Respawn for over 4 million schmeckles.
400 million.
Oh, whatever. It's the same. There's no big difference between 4 million and 400 million.
Not when you're EA.
Nope. So, I mean, this is that they're buying that company. And this is unfortunate because we just saw them shutter Visceral Games recently.
Yes. I think they're connected, probably.
Yes, and Titanfall, if you look at Respawn and the kind of stuff that they put out, they're like, oh, they're a studio with some cool, interesting ideas, and they don't always get it right exactly, but when they do get it right, it's really satisfying and interesting for the game. And that strikes me like Dead Space to a T.
Yes.
So I'm like, oh, so they're gonna absorb Respawn, and then they're gonna give Respawn some ridiculous task like a Battlefield Hardline, and then Respawn's not gonna do a very good job with it because it was just like a tainted project from the get go, and then EA's gonna get mad at Respawn and they're gonna close them.
That's a very big possibility.
I just see this and I'm like, oh look, it's Visceral all over again. We're just seeing the cycle start anew.
Yeah. Now that could very well be the case. Back when Titanfall, the first one, was kind of a sleeper success, did well in 2014 as an Xbox exclusive. Titanfall 2 came out for multiple platforms, and it basically, one of the main reasons why it didn't do good is it came out right during Call of Duty and Battlefield at the same time, which is it was just a horrible
worst launch window it could have had.
I know. I don't know what the thinking was there. Why they thought they could compete. It's also, there's a Matt Mercer connection too, because he voiced the main character in Titanfall 2. Here's the interesting thing, Lex, is that Respawn was working on was working on a Star Wars action game. And EA has the rights to publish all Star Wars video games for like the next 10 years or some shit. I don't know. They signed some kind of contract with Disney for this. Mm-hmm. EA had contracted Respawn to make a Star Wars action game in addition to the Battlefront series and what they had planned as a Star Wars action game from Visceral. Visceral got shut down, game got canceled, and they bought up Respawn. Now, there were some rumors flying around that, and this actually was from, I think it was a BioWare artist said something about this at some point. No, it wasn't a BioWare artist. It was some industry person kind of tweeted about this a little bit a while ago, saying that basically EA looked at the tech and the development of the Respawn Star Wars game, and apparently it was just like head and heels above what Visceral had completed thus far. And like graphically and mechanically was just crazy, way better. And they had done it in way less time. So my thought in my little this is your Booge like conspiracy moment of the week, is that they probably looked at the development of the Respawn Star Wars game, how far they had come along, looked at the Visceral Star Wars game, and was like, we got to shut one down, and they shut that one down, moved all the resources over to finish the Respawn game, and then purchased them so that they had complete control over it. That's my conspiracy theory.
I think that's totally likely. If only they had moved Amy Hennig over to
right.
And I mean, actually, we don't know. Maybe if that's true, maybe they are, because we know that the last news with her was that she went back into like negotiations with them about where her role was going to be in the company. So I don't think she's officially gone yet. So hey, if you're right, and maybe they just shift her over to this company, and then everything works out. But yeah. Yeah. Let's
it's EA throwing around a lot of money is what it is.
Yes. Well, they can go for it. Yeah.
That's what you do.
So we're going to talk about we're going to end the show in just a minute talking about some of the games that just came out, some of the games that are about to come out. What just came out? Well, on the 7th, we had everybody's...
Games!
Yes. Get that Vuvuzela in here. We had everybody's most anticipated game, Sonic Forces, came out.
Oh, Jesus. God, good Lord. I had no idea what that game was about, and I actually watched a little bit of a Let's Play of it, and you get to make your own, like, furry fanfiction character.
Ugh.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
No, I've actually read some not great reviews. Like, a lot of the reviews have said, like, this pales in comparison to Sonic Mania that just came out recently. But I have read a lot of reviews saying, this is bad. This is fine. This is a fine Sonic game. They've certainly done much
Sonic
worse.
Game.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Like, the bar for Sonic games is pretty low, but they passed it. Their characters don't show up in T-pose at the beginning of levels, so they're doing okay.
I'm going to give you a spoiler though. In the very beginning of the game, Sonic dies.
No,
and I'm not kidding, because you don't play as Sonic in this game. You play as your Fur Affinity fanfic character.
Well, all right. So
And they look like lifeless, like creepy creatures. It's amazing. It's fucking incredible.
today we had the launch of Doom on the Nintendo Switch. Mario Party, the top 300 on 3DS. Need
Top
for
100.
Speed Payback on the Windows, the PS4, and the Xbone. And of course, everyone's most anticipated game of this month, Football Manager 2018.
Oh hell yeah!
Ah.
I have
No,
one
but
friend that probably love playing that shit.
my pre-ordered copy of Doom for the Switch has shipped as of this morning.
Nice.
And I am excited to play it all the time. I will probably be streaming it when I do.
Cool.
I have been watching video comparisons, and as a surprise to no one, the graphics are not as high definition in the Switch version as they are on
really?
the PC. What?
That's so strange.
That being said, it's locked at 720p and 30 frames per second, but it is a pretty, according to reviews that I've read, a pretty solid 30 frames per second, either in handheld or docked mode.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, they just ratcheted everything down a notch and then kept the gameplay smooth, which was the smartest thing for them to do.
Yeah, that game's stylistic enough. I think it could work with without that. But I will say, I mean, like, I'm sorry that with my RX 480 running at a Vulkan, running with a Vulkan architecture API, I play that game at a buttery smooth 150 frames a second, and it never drops.
No!
But enjoy your little Switch. That's nice.
It'll be great.
I also want to say, Super Lucky's Tale came out, the game that no one thought was going to do good, and guess what? It didn't.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad it was meeting
like
expectations.
A 3D platform. Yeah, it's like a 3D platformer it's like a kid-friendly 3D platformer thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they thought it was like the early to mid 2000s, and they were still making mascot platformers, but there you go.
On the 14th, we're going to have a bunch of stuff for Switch is actually coming out on the 14th. We're going to have Batman Telltale games, I guess Chapter 1, because it doesn't specify which chapter it is, so I assume it's Chapter 1, is coming out. We're going to have LA Noire coming out, which you will need that extra memory card if you want to play it. Unless you buy a physical version, and I don't know if physical versions are coming out. I assume they are.
Yes.
That's probably what I'll do.
No, I think even the physical, you need space beyond that with the physical version. I think that was a thing. I don't know.
Oh, no, I don't know. Because I have Breath of the Wild, and I installed some stuff for Breath of the Wild, but, like, very little. Most of it lives on the cartridge. So, also, Lego Marvel Super Heroes 2 is coming out for the Switch, which I'm really excited to play, because I have the first one for PC, and it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously intended for a younger audience than me, but
yes.
But it's still fun. And and Rhyme.
Tokyo Tattoo Girls.
Oh, for the Vita.
For the
means
Vita.
Life.
Yes, it does. PlayStation Life. Also, Harvest Moon. I didn't know they were still making Harvest Moon games, but apparently.
Yeah. But Rocket League is coming out for the Switch.
Yeah, Rocket League fucking rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Get leaked.
So, yeah, no, there's a bunch of... The Switch is having a good time. There's finally enough Switch games in the catalog that I'm like, I want all these games. I can't get them all, but I do want all of them. I'll have to pick them up later, but that's like the first time since I've owned a Switch that I've thought that thing.
Right. Gotta ask Santa Claus for some...
Ooh, yeah. Get that fat man over here. Give me some games.
Get that Norwegian creep in my chimney!
Get in here. So that is it. The show's over. That's all we have time for. I have been Lex, and I've been joined by my co-host,
Chris.
We have been talking about video games. We do it every week on Fridays from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/DCTF podcast. If you want to find us on social media, you can find us on all of it. Anywhere by searching Don't Copy That Floppy Podcast, or our handle on many places such as Twitter is at DCTF Podcast, just like that Twitch stream name URL thing. And yes, you can find us on all those places. If you want to support the show, you can go to our iTunes and give us a rating and review. That would be super helpful and amazing of you to do. And if you want to support us and you have so much money you don't know what to do with it all, you can go over to our Patreon and give us money every month and get access to bonus content And that's it for now, but there might be more later.
If you're Strauss Zelnick and you have all that extra consumer spending that you need to spend, to help us out.
But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. And until next week, Chris, what do people have to remember?
Don't copy that flop.